Hi, my name is Sydney Brun Ozuna, and I spent my spring semester in the complex, historically rich, and unbelievably fascinating city of Berlin, Germany. And while I don't know who you are or if studying abroad in Berlin is right for you, I'm more than happy to give you an idea of what this experience was like for me from multiple perspectives. So, here we go.
He's gonna do it.
While we may have other motives for going abroad, like exploring a new culture or finding a little adventure, it's not called studying abroad for nothing. My trip to Germany was centered almost entirely on learning to speak German. And the school I stayed at, the Humboldt Institute für Deutsch als Fremdsprache, did a great job at that. At the time of going to the Humboldt, I'd been studying German for 6 years, and I'd really felt myself plateau, which was incredibly frustrating. But after just 2 weeks of classes, I could feel my German getting better, and so could the other people in my class. The way classes worked there is you take a placement test at the beginning of the program, which isn't as scary as it seems. Based on the test, they put you in a class with other students from foreign countries who are at a similar speaking level as you. Because not everyone there will speak English, all of the classes are done entirely in German, which also isn't nearly as scary as it sounds. Being in a class with people who are all at the same level as you, trying their best to speak a new language, makes learning and talking in German a lot easier. And after 5 weeks, you take a new test that tells you if you can move up to the next level. We also had a class with a UNL professor twice a week, which got us thinking about things other than just the German language, like migration throughout the country, the history of Berlin, und so weiter. Overall, I felt like I got a fabulous education at the Humboldt, with the only caveat being that outside of our one UNL class, language was the absolute focus academically. If you're looking for an abroad experience where the classes are more grounded in philosophy or science or music, you may want to look elsewhere. This experience was definitely made for people who want to immerse themselves in the culture, especially the language of Germany. If that sounds like what you're after, you've come to the right place. When I first came to Berlin, I wasn't sure how many friends I'd be making. I knew only a few people and very vaguely. I could not possibly have imagined how close we would all become. It sounds ridiculous and cliché, but that's because it kind of is. We were a little bit like the Breakfast Club, a bunch of people with very little in common outside of a desire to learn German. But by the end of our time in Germany, all of the Nebraskans were pretty much best friends. It's hard not to become friends when you have the same goals of learning German and experiencing the culture. And with how much we were all forced to hang out, I had great conversations with every single person on our trip. I have no doubt that I'll be friends with many of them for a very, very long time. And that's not even to mention all the people who you meet who aren't from the States. Everyone who came to the Humboldt was interested in getting to know one another. So I made friends with people from all over the world, like Japan and Ukraine and Brazil, Australia, Switzerland, and of course, Germany. The Germans who worked at the Humboldt, from the instructors to the cooks to the secretaries to the so-called resident German, Julian, were always helpful, kind, and did everything they could to only speak German. Well, except for Julian. While it's safe to say I learned a lot in my classes at the Humboldt, I easily learned just as much from the city of Berlin itself. The city is bursting at the seams with stories to tell, from the memorials to victims of the Holocaust to a lasting symbol of Soviet rule in the middle of the city. Everywhere I went in Berlin, there was something there to remind me that this city has been through a lot in the past 100 years. Walking through the city was often part of our lessons too, as the stuff we were learning about in our sociology class with our UNL professor was often just a train ride away. Speaking of trains, Berlin has a lot of them. Getting from one side of the city to the other isn't that difficult to do. You just need to be okay with getting lost a few times along the way. We also went to other German cities by train, like Hamburg, Holstock, and Potsdam. I even took the train with some friends for a long weekend in Tala. Look at the spaghetti we made! Berlin is also a really walkable city, and the Humboldt is right in the city center, just a 2-minute walk to the east of the Berlin Wall. We did a lot of walking, because the city never really seemed to run out of new things to do. We went to drag shows, memorials, bars, restaurants, museums, castles, gardens, nightclubs, concerts, you name it. And after all of that, we never even made a dent. Trust me, in Berlin, it's impossible to get bored.
Und ich bin Jacob.
Jacob. Hast du eine Frage, oder?
Nein, mein Name ist...
I went to Berlin not totally sure what to expect. I thought maybe I would meet some friends, learn some German, and overall have a nice experience. I didn't want to get my hopes up that it would be some life-changing experience, but in all honesty, it kind of was. I'm finally at a level in my German where I feel like I can actually talk to people, something I've been chasing for years. I can chat with my grandparents in German now. I could read German newspapers and watch German movies. And I can go to Germany again and not have to worry about being the girl who can't speak the language. Not only that, but in such a short time, I've had experiences I've never gotten before and may never get again. I've made friends who I'll treasure for a long time. And I've fallen in love with an amazing city that I hope to see again one day. Not everyone will have the same experience as I did, and not everyone will feel the same way about Berlin as I do now. And that's okay. The decision is yours to make. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm really glad I chose to come.